The morning sun spilled across the marble floors of a grand kitchen, casting glimmers of light on polished cupboards. To outsiders, the Montgomery mansion was perfection, a fortress of wealth and power, but inside lived a man burdened with a loneliness money could never cure. Charles Montgomery, a billionaire famed for his sharp business instincts, returned each night to a house that looked full but felt empty. Years ago, his wife had left, unable to cope with the challenges of raising their twin boys, both born profoundly deaf. Since then, Charles buried himself in work, leaving a rotation of nannies and maids, none of whom lasted long. One afternoon, Charles came home earlier than usual, loosening his tie. Briefcase in hand, he heard something that froze him mid-step. Laughter, not in words, but in joyous bursts of movement and energy. His sons rarely expressed joy so freely. Heart racing, he followed the sound die in the kitchen. He stopped. His twins stood barefoot on the counter, red shirts glowing in the sunlight. Between them pulsed a large speaker, its lights flashing in rhythm. They couldn't hear the music, but they could feel it. And with them, arms raised high, danced Isabella, the maid he had hired only 2 weeks earlier. Still in her apron and yellow gloves, she moved like a conductor leading a private symphony. The boys mimicked her, stomping, clapping, swaying in perfect delight. Charles stood speechless. For years, he tried therapists, tutors, specialists, yet he had never broken through their silence. And here, this woman had done it with nothing more than music, movement, and kindness. When Isabella noticed him, she quickly stopped the music, helping the boys down, guilt flashing across her face. But the twins protested, tugging at her apron, their small hands signing a word Charles understood instantly: Mommy. The word hit him harder than any business defeat. His children, long deprived of their mother's presence, had found comfort in a stranger's laughter. That night, alone in his study, guilt weighed heavy, but beneath the guilt stirred something else. Hope. In the days that followed, Charles noticed changes. The twins smiled more, laughed more, sought Isabella's attention constantly. She created games with colors, vibrations, and light. She even tied balloons to their wrists so they could feel the bass in their arms. It wasn't therapy, it was connection. Charles often watched from the doorway, his heart softening. One evening, Isabella invited him to join. Hesitant, he placed his hands on the speaker, feeling the vibrations as his sons giggled at his clumsy steps. For the first time, he wasn't the stern billionaire. He was simply Daddy. Not everyone approved. Some of Charles's wealthy friends mocked him for letting the maid shape his children's lives. But when he looked into his sons' glowing eyes, he knew their happiness mattered more than anyone's opinion. Over coffee one morning, Isabella shared her story. She had once studied music, but left school after tragedy struck her family. Her younger brother had been deaf too, and through him she discovered the beauty of feeling music rather than hearing it. That was why she understood the twins so well. As weeks turned into months, the mansion transformed. No longer silent, it echoed with laughter, stomps, and playful chaos. Charles began cutting work early, choosing family dinners and kitchen dances over late-night calls. Then came a moment he would never forget. During breakfast, his twins clumsily signed new words: Daddy, dance. Tears blurred his eyes as he pushed back his chair and began to move with them. For Charles, it wasn't just a dance, it was a bridge to his children, built on love. By then, he understood money, reputation, success, none of it compared to the joy of connection. The maid he had hired to clean his house had healed something far greater, the emptiness in his soul. And so, in that kitchen filled with ordinary sunlight and extraordinary love, Charles Montgomery discovered that the greatest wealth in life isn't counted in numbers, but in moments that melt the heart.